There we go. Everybody see that? So we'll walk through here. So again, this is the RI theme here, which is serve to change lives. And our incoming RI president is Shekhar Mehta from India. He's actually just recovering from COVID-19 as well, but he's back. He was in the hospital for a little bit, but he's back strong, back home, and everything was fine. His family is fine. And Dan's theme down there, do more, grow more. And so if you look at, what your job description is representing the governor. You're a liaison between the governor, all the district staff, and the clubs. And so it's important for you to be connected with each of the leaders in the district, not just the governor. And so you're able to reach out to the membership chair, the foundation chair, each of the avenues of service chairs, and be able to communicate with them and know what those are, as well as what Dan's goals are. But each of those folks need your support as well. And we'll be kicking back in our youth programs, and I'm sure that as we do get camps back in, hopefully maybe by the fall for Pride, and certainly by the spring for Ryla, there'll be a lot of help needed. Obviously, your preparation right now, working in these next few days, 41 days, as Dan says, to get the presidents-elect ready for their year as presidents, and then being able to pull those together. So one of the things right now you might think about doing is making sure you have all the contact information for those presidents-elect in the clubs and other folks in those clubs that you're going to represent, and know what their contacts are, when they're meeting, where they're meeting. Begin to collect some information on those clubs up front right now. Obviously, we've gone through, this group has already gone through pre-president-elect training, president-elect training, and we've all district assembly, they've already gone through that. But as you get into next year, you'll be working with the next group of Don's presidents-elect, also in supporting them in their role in going through these trainings as well. Your year as assistant governor overlaps both Dan and Don here as you move forward, and eventually you probably move into Jamie's year. And really, your goal, in fact, all of our goals are to make sure that we help the clubs achieve their goals, and through that, the district achieve its goals. And you're out there banging the drum on there. And Nairi, Maryland, yeah, anything you want to jump in on at any time, just jump in, please. And so you're going to be promoting the district goals, and Nairi will be covering more of those goals with you. Part of that certainly is giving to the annual fund, PolioPlus, the Paul Harris Society, Paul Harris Fellows, those kind of things on the foundation side, and we need to continue to drive that process, as well as membership growth. One of the things that Shekhar Mehta says is bring one, keep one. Invite somebody to your club and add on club membership. He would like to grow Rotary International membership from 1.2 million to 1.3 million by July 1, 2022. And so to do that, we obviously have to have growth with new members coming in to the clubs, but also that we have retention out there on that. And so each one of these things, you need to know what those are. Obviously, you need to be supporters of the Rotary National theme, serve to change lives, as well as Dan's theme and those goals. And Dan has additional goals for his 9/11 golf tournament, his district conference, a variety of things that'll be happening, his foundation gala, and those kind of things, and be supportive of those. There will also, I don't know if Dan has a date already for the incoming club presidents for this coming year. They have a kind of a midterm President's Advance training or meeting they get together on. But also you'll be meeting, they already shared with you in your small group of clubs, band those together and connect those amongst some of these areas. And so you have more camaraderie and working together on those, and certainly support the district conference as well as the foundation gala. I mentioned membership. Make sure that that's happening. Any foundation workshops folks are attending, and I'm expecting we might have some type of additional membership workshop, maybe the Vibrant Club one, but certainly membership is key. And that's not to think that we're going out of business. Membership is strong in our district, but we need to continue to help our clubs build and grow. Any questions on those?
I would like to mention that July 10th, and this was in the packet of information I sent everybody at the district calendar, but July 10th is going to be our kickoff meeting that will be held at Governor Barry's compound. We are going to we're still finalizing the planning on this, but it'll either be $15 a person, maybe even down to $10 a person, but 100% of those, 100% of those funds will be donated to the Neil Doing Youth Fund. Okay, so everybody will be paying, will be charged, but all of those funds will be going to the Neil Doing Youth Fund. So we definitely want, obviously, all the AGs in attendance, the club presidents, etc., so that we can donate to the fund. But we want to launch Dan's year in a big way, and you'll be getting additional information on that as we get a little closer. And then on the area, the AG listing, important to please note the dates that Dan would like to be meeting with your various groups collectively, except for those particular groups that were noted and colored in red. And those we met in person. So please start to work on those meeting dates. I think Carol Winson, I think you're up first. So if there's, please look to decide whether it's going to be hybrid, all on Zoom, all in person, where, etc. And so that we can have a great DG visit. But I just wanted to highlight the kickoff on July 10th. And then Rudy obviously also mentioned Dan's golf tournament in commemoration of 9/11. And so you'll be getting more information. But July 10th, please put it down. It will be at 4 p.m. In the evening, and we'll have some good food and camaraderie. It'd be great to see everybody after this year and a half we've been suffering with COVID. And we look forward to launching that and also raising money for the Neil Doing Youth Fund, which is all part of Foundation.
So if I could throw a couple things in. For those of you who don't know who Neil Doing was, he was a member of the Palm Desert Rotary Club and really one of the great faces and pioneers of RILA in our district. And when he passed away, he left a little bit of an endowment fund he left a little bit of money and we started an endowment basically. But he left a little bit of money for us for the RILA program. And so it's my hope that with your help and with club support, we can build that fund up to a substantial amount or a greater amount, or that the proceeds from that fund will begin to send students to RILA. Now, right now, there's not quite enough in there if we were using the proceeds to send any, maybe one, it might be close to one, but you know, we want to do better than that. So that's why I'm focusing on that. And I think that's an admirable thing. If you knew Neil, he was such a passionate Rotarian, you wouldn't have found a better supporter of RILA or the youth. And so we want to honor him and build a legacy around that. Additionally, the July 10th kickoff is also going to be turning itself into a vote of the presidents. So there is a proposed policy or resolution from the Paris Rotary Club for the reallocation distribution process in which the district allocates DDF to the clubs. Now, if you haven't heard, I'll tell you now, Rotary International has changed its policy on the retention and retaining of DDF. It used to be that when we allocated it out to the clubs, they got to keep it forever in a lifetime. And believe me, we actually have some clubs that have kept it forever in a lifetime. But now Rotary has put a time limit on it. And the time limit is 5 years. So if clubs do not spend their DDF within 5 years, they will surrender that money to Rotary International. In other words, you lose it. So what the district started looking at was how could we create a set of books to be able to track that. And after, you know, being the guy who kind of created the first spreadsheet way back when, it was a little bit challenging when you started looking at a 5-year cycle where some clubs now spent the first 2 years, so now year 3 becomes year 1 and everybody else is on a different time frame. So money was constantly sliding between the columns. Trying to figure that out appeared to be more than what you could rely on somebody in a 3-year position to do. So the governor line, along with the foundation committee, sat down and proposed and rewrote a policy for changing it. And essentially it's going to go like this if passed. In the 21-22 year, all of the retained or rolled over DDF that clubs have, along with the DDF that they received this year. So first let's understand that the rollover is all the global DDF, okay? Whatever you receive in the 21-22 year, of course, you're still gonna have the opportunity to take half of that amount, use it in your communities. We call that a district block grant. The other 50% is still gonna be global. You will have until June 30th of 2022 to spend all of your global DDF. If the DDF isn't spent, it's going to roll into a district pool where the district will hold the money, and then clubs moving forward, years 2, 3, and 4, will have an opportunity to apply for that money out of the pool, providing they gave money to the foundation and have DDF. Okay, so picture it like this. Money sitting in the pool, year 2 rolls around, maybe you spent all your money in year 1 and the second year rolls around and you have a global grant project that you're trying to fund and your club has, say, $1,000 in global DDF available to the club. You could apply to the district pool for an amount of money. You could ask for the moon. I don't know what they'll give you because there's going to be a committee formed to oversee that. But that allows you to leverage or even double your contribution. We believe that it's not going to take long before clubs begin to spend their money because you're not going to want to give it to the pool moving forward either. I've always said this when I was a foundation chair, and I'm going to digress a little bit. To me, it's a travesty that you would ask your members in your club to donate to the Rotary Foundation. 3 years later, the money comes back and you don't use it. This preemptive thing that Rotary is doing to us is putting us in a position where we're going to have to spend our money. That resolution is going to be sent out to all the club presidents, president-elects, and the clubs. I'm encouraging the clubs to discuss it. And on July 10th, when president-elects become presidents, they're going to vote on this resolution. And if it passes, it will go into the policy manual of the district. If it doesn't pass, okay, then we're running the gambit of trying to educate clubs how to do it, and potentially clubs losing their money to Rotary International where we have no say. What I failed to mention was in year 5, after year 4, if there's still a great deal amount of money that's in there and nobody's applied for it, which I really don't see happening, but if it should happen, then that committee, that oversight committee of that pool is going to put it to use. We're not intending to give it back to Rotary International either. So that's our hope. We want to be able to use the DDF to make a difference in the world for humanitarian work or educational work or whatever the case might be, but we don't want it to sit in a bank where nobody's using it anymore. Those days are done, folks. It's either going to have the district where you have the ability to apply for it, or you're going to end up surrendering it back to Rotary, or using it for polio. You could donate it to polio as well. But at either rate, we're going to be forced into a situation where we have to use this money. We're not going to be able to continue to just hoard it and be in a banking business type atmosphere like some of the clubs have been in. And I know that the minute that it happens to a club where they've lost their money to the pool or to Rotary, one of the two, there's going to be holy hell to pay. Everybody's going to say they didn't know or whatever. So we are sending this out in plenty of time, trying to communicate that. This kickoff party, I need your help to help them get there. And we are going to set up a little bit of registration because of the money being collected. We got to get a head count for food is what it is. We got to know how much to buy and that kind of thing. So it's important to get back to your clubs and emphasize the fact that this is coming, make sure they received it, and encourage them to discuss it with their own clubs so everybody's informed, and we'll have a vote. Okay, so that kickoff party is more than, unfortunately, it's turning almost into a business meeting. I was hoping it was going to be all fun, fellowship, and laughs, and having a great time. But of course, the year's going to start off with an important measure of work right off the get-go. But we're still going to have fun, laughs, and fellowship. So, all right, any questions about it?
Yeah, Dan. Oh, go ahead.
So are you going to send out like a one sheet on this as we're to talk to all of our
We have to,
club presidents?
we're going to send out the resolution.
The resolution, okay.
The resolution has been crafted by the committee with the DRFC and whatnot, and the Rotary Club of Paris is going to move it forward and sign the resolution. Once I receive that, I will immediately send it to the club so you have as much time to go over it and even ask questions ahead of time if you want. But we
Okay.
want to
And my understanding is that each year we will get the money, but we will only be able to sit on it for 1 year.
yeah, the year you get it, yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Jennifer.
So that goes forward as the same. Every year we will get a certain distribution, but if we don't use it, it rolls into the district.
Yeah, you'll always get your money. Good comment. You get your money every year just like you normally have. It's just that you're going to have to spend it or tag it. Tagging it means you have a global grant project and you commit it to it. Okay, but you have to do that at a Rotary International. You have to have a global grant number, and it has to be at Rotary International for that. Okay, and
Done that, and that grant does not end up moving forward. Would the money come back to us or to the district if it's into the second year?
it would come back to the pool.
The pool. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have 2 questions. One, just for clarification purposes, it was my understanding that at the end of the 5 years of the money rolling over, Rotary International would come to our district and ask us where we would like to make that donation to. It'd kind of be a forced donation, but it wouldn't be going back into their pocket per se. It would be going to an avenue of service or polio or the annual fund or however we chose to spend it. Is that correct?
That has not been made clear. That was something that was put on a, so here's what I said. What, I was on that call when they talked about that, Matt. And one of the comments that they made was that we could also donate it to an endowment.
Correct.
Our district has several endowments already. Oddly enough, our district has an endowment that comes back to the district in the form of the share, which is the annual fund. So I asked the question if we could donate the rollover DDF to our endowment to that share account, because that money would come back to the district, which would then be redistributed back to the clubs, right? They said that they believed so. When I asked the question about would we have any say over how that money was spent, you know, if it was going to go to a area focus, the World Fund, wherever it was going to, they hemmed and hawed and didn't commit. They haven't really, I don't know that they have figured it out, and they haven't communicated it yet. Here's what we do know. Come July 1, there's supposed to be a new report that's being generated by the foundation that's going to put us on a list of here's, you know, the money in the year, what you will lose if you don't spend it. So once we have that figure and they've finalized a report, it's our hope that we'll be able to call club and district support and those types of folks at Rotary International and get more defined things. So I'm hoping to have all that type of information before I come to you on the 10th. That's my goal.
So my second question is, who is going to select the foundation oversight committee? And then I guess who would oversee it?
So right now, the Foundation Oversight Committee proposed by the resolution is going to be the DRFC, the governor line, the immediate so it's the, wait a minute, let me label them this way. DRFC, DG, DGE, DGN, DGND, immediate past district governor, and the past district governor before that. Okay. Why? Had a lot of conversation about how come the global grants chair isn't there? How come the grants chair isn't there? And the discussion that took place in that conversation is that the governor, with the exception of the DRFC, could stack the deck.
Yeah.
One of the concerns we have, the biggest concern we have, is that we don't want to, you know, and I'm not saying this would happen, but you know, the potential is there. We didn't want a governor to be able to come in and, you know, take a whole bunch of money out of the pool and use it for a pet project or, you know, a district, you know, type projects without having some kind of oversight to that. Because, you know, we want the goal here is, first of all, not to have a lot of money in the pool, okay? But if there is money in the pool, the first objective should be to allow the clubs to apply for it.
Correct.
Okay? That's our intent here. We want the clubs to be able to utilize the money. It isn't for district use. And it's only going to be for district use if you get into year 4, okay, where we start running out of time, okay? And we'll be communicating that all along the way. Hey, you know, there's this much money available. If you have a project and, you know, I said I would be the guy and that would probably, you know, every now and then you'll see me pop off on the district Facebook page about, hey, there's a grant opportunity over here, okay? So I pretty much cut my teeth in that area, and I still kind of like to do that kind of thing. So I know that even if I'm not in that oversight committee, okay, I will probably still have opportunities for clubs to utilize their money. It's also my intent in sometime in the spring, if this resolution is passed, that I will be holding a project fair for foundation and putting together a number of projects where clubs will be able to come and see and participate in. I'm already starting the process. I'm looking for, right now everybody's fighting for July 1. Everybody in the world is trying to get their grants funded by July 1 because come July 1, you only get 80% match, right? So all these districts and clubs around the world are hustling and scrambling for that money. But after July 1, we want to find some projects that meet every area of focus, including hopefully the new area of focus of environment. And we want to be able to have a number of those grants that we can present to clubs to participate in. I don't really have a feel, and I'm sure that it would be all over the map, what the clubs like to participate in. Some might like water, some might like education, some might, and so we have to come up with a group of them so that everybody can try to get a feel for it. And that's one of the things that I'm committing to, and as Rudy pointed out, we will be having a vibrant club workshop as well, and foundation will be a part of that, and some of that discussion will probably happen in that as well. So
Okay, let's continue to jump off this a minute and keep on going through this training, if that's okay. And then we can come back with some other questions at the end of this. Make sure we can get this covered tonight, because there'll be plenty more questions and learning yet to be had on the resolution and additional changes coming out of Rotary Foundation. So appreciate that. And so one of those things you need to help the clubs with is entering their goals in Rotary Club Central. And we're actually going to jump online to Rotary Club Central here in a minute once I run through this PowerPoint and show you some things at Rotary.org. I know you all, I believe you all have your My Rotary account set up at Rotary.org, which is great. Thank you. And you'll be using that to help the clubs.
And if I could jump in here just a minute, Rudy, entering the goals is one of the things that seems to give the PEs and the presidents the most trouble. So Rudy will explain the resources and the live assistance that's available to them now. You'll explain it a little bit later, Rudy.
Yeah,
but there's a lot of assistance available for this challenging task.
Well, it's a good way when the clubs are planning to put their plans in there. And besides entering, you're giving your annual fund goal, your PolioPlus goal, membership goal, and those kind of things. You also can enter projects in the different avenues of service. And so there's a good way to do that. And plus, in helping those clubs, one of the other reasons that Rotary started this was because we know we can go out to the world and say, we spent this much money on polio. We spent this much money on grants. But RI doesn't know how much projects that the clubs have done, how many hours our clubs have committed to projects, and what the value of time is. Each of you are a professional. You can value your times at $50 an hour, $100 an hour, $200 an hour, whatever that might be. But if your club does a project and they put in 100 hours in one project at $100, all of a sudden you got $10,000 worth of time spent on one project. And there's a value to that. And you add that up to 35,000 clubs around the world. And we say, last year our 1.2 million members not only invested this much money, but these many hours, we invested 1 billion hours, $100 billion worth of time was donated out in humanitarian service. And so it's really helping us market ourselves as well as set our goals on strategic planning in our clubs and helping us achieve goals. And we already mentioned about forming President's Council in your areas. And so use those with your groups, your club grouping and club areas, and then area to area when you're close together out in the desert, in Redlands and in Riverside, in San Bernardino, some of these areas, please pull together those groups and work together closely and meet, whether that's meeting in person once a month or on Zoom, which you can still do if that saves time to make that connection. So help coordinate these meetings with these and make sure the information's passing between the clubs within your President's Council, and then make sure that it gets back to Nyron and Dan and what's going on with those. Nyron already mentioned Dan will be visiting the clubs by groups, and with Carol Winston being the first up, and Carol will be coordinating with the clubs to pick a date there between July 12th and 16th for that meeting in that area. A few of us have e-clubs, and Dan will be meeting separately online with those e-clubs. There may be a couple other clubs that will meet in person, but most of those will be group meetings. And so there'll be an excellent way for clubs to get together and coordinate. So part of that coordination is your work on that. Make sure that Nyron and Dan know, especially Dan, because he's the one that's going to be meeting with them, when, where, the timing, and also board members, and make sure things are discussed there. So make sure that these are up to speed, so it'll be coordinated. Reach out to your
If I
club.
could, if I could jump in there real quick, I just
Yeah.
wanted to add one other thing. And for the AGs, if you could make sure your clubs know that for those governor visits, the governor is the star of the show and he is the focal point of the meeting. Please do not have them schedule. And I know most of us already know that, all of us already know that, but I know there are some clubs that don't share the same focus with the district. But if we can make sure that they know that the governor is the focal point of the meeting and not to have anything else scheduled on that day, no other speakers, subject matter, etc.
Well, there are some important things to have there. Know if you're inducting a new member. Dan would love it to be a part of that induction of a new member during those groups. The other thing is if they're giving to the Rotary Foundation, they've got some pins to hand out, whether that's a Paul Harris Fellow or major donor pins, whatever those happen to be. He'll want to hand some of those out. Any recognition that the governor can give to the members at these meetings is extremely important. So use the governor in his visit to help with those things and make it, that'll help the excitement go and build on that and play with each other as to who's going to bring a new member in there that Dan can induct, especially in these group meetings. It'll be pretty exciting. Dan, you want to add anything to that, or was on target for you?
No, that's perfect. I got a question in the chat box from Matt Smith asking me if I was doing board meetings as part of the visits before or after the main meeting. My answer to that, Matt, is those are optional to the club. Okay. Not every club, believe it or not, wants to have a board meeting. I've already kind of reached out during the PETS process and talked to them, and I've already spoken to a lot of the PEs about that. So if there's issues in the club and they want to have a board meeting, yes. If they want to have a board meeting, yes. If they don't feel it's necessary and don't want to, no. If they want to do it before, that's going to be a little tough for me because meetings are going to be at 6. And depending on where they're located, I may have to, getting there. Board meetings could be after if we don't go too long, just depends. And we'll work it out for any club that wants to have a board meeting. But to think that I'm going to do 62 board meetings is probably not going to happen.
Yeah, that might be something at a club. If they want one of those, they can meet with you on Zoom.
Yeah.
Connect different times, set those up. On the report any club problems to Nyron first, understand that clubs are autonomous here. And one of the basic things I want you to if a club has a problem, make sure they go back and check their bylaws. If it's an internal problem, always check their bylaws and make sure, ask clubs last time they were updated their bylaws. They should be updating those or checking those every year to make sure they're in alignment with actually what the club practices are. And so the best thing you can do there is that. Of course, Nyron would want to know if something's happening out there or Dan, so that they can at least keep their ear to the ground and maybe help give you some advice on some of these things. But, you keep your fingers on the pulse of some of these things. And so there are no surprises out there. For those that need extra assistance and resources for the clubs, if you need something special on membership, reach out to your membership chair. If you're struggling, you have questions on foundation giving, reach out to our DRFC. If somebody's in the process of a global grant and they need help, reach out to Helene. Reach out to some of these people. You've got a team of resources out there, and you're helping them become successful in that role and help the clubs through there. So there are resources in the district to help out at any time, including additional training as needed. Make sure that you're attending these AG meetings and look at any problems. Some of the other ways are as you begin to talk with other fellow AGs with if problems come up and those kind of things, somebody else may have solved a similar problem. And so when you discuss them, they'll say, well, I did this when this happened and it worked out for me. And so those are some things to do. Each of you are to make sure that you have a report, visit each club quarterly and submit the quarterly report. You're supposed to meet with them every month, but each club you're going to evaluate quarterly and do the club evaluation reports. And Nyron's already sent you a copy of those reports that you would fill out in rating the club and submit that back to Dan and Nyron. You'll have a final report, and you also will be rating your clubs on Rotary Club Central. Obviously, you modeled the way. Attend district functions, set the example for the club, clubs to attend, seminars, and those kind of things. Make sure you're attending those, setting an example out there. You also get the newest and latest information to give feedback to the clubs on those. And if you are following somebody that you're replacing somebody now who's an AG in a certain area, please reach out to them and pick up any information they may have on hand. And if that happens at the end of your year, if all of a sudden and during Don's year, a new AG comes into your area, make sure you pass that information on to them. So keep those records and make sure the next person has that information. As we pass information governor to governor, AGs need to do the same thing, and the different leadership chairs in those areas. And again,
could I jump in 1 second before you move?
Please do.
I just want the previous slide contained things about attending district conference and all that sort of thing. But one of the things I wanted to highlight was the RI convention. You know, the last 2 years, the convention has been canceled due to COVID in Hawaii and in Taiwan this year. Next year, it's going to be here in a good old US of A in Houston and in our backyard. It would be absolutely fantastic. Well, first of all, the whole world is going to want to escape out of a COVID no travel environment and see the world. And so I think everybody's going to be coming to Houston. We have had great times in Sao Paulo and Hamburg and other places having district get-togethers and zone get-togethers at the convention. And I would love to see a huge gathering of our districts and our clubs and our people in Houston to have a lot of fun. And if you haven't been to our RI convention, it is one of the most powerful things that I personally have experienced, and reminds you again the awesome power of Rotary and the good that we do all over the world, as well as making great connections and promoting projects and all that sort of thing. So just wanted to throw that out there.
No, that's good. I know if you've never been to a Rotary National Convention, this will be a great opportunity. Not too far away from us here in Houston. I know our club members, our E-Club, don't often see each other. So we're looking to bring a big contingent down there from our club. And we've also reached out with friends, and we've also, teamed up with some other clubs around the world, sister clubs. So it's a great way to get together. But when you're under the roof with 30,000 or 40,000 other Rotarians from all over the world, you understand the power of Rotary, and it is life-changing over there. One of the other things I will mention, we do have a global grant for our district in right now. Keep your fingers crossed that it gets approved. It's on human trafficking training. And many of your clubs have contributed to this grant, and I appreciate that, as Dan does. And when this gets approved, we're going to be working with you and the clubs to hold community meetings to let the community know what we're doing and train them on human trafficking and resources out there. The global grant will be training about 500 teachers in 165 schools in Riverside and San Bernardino counties in our district that have been selected as the most needy and most ones that are threatened. The students are most threatened or at risk of being trafficked. And we should be training and impacting 50,000 students, 50,000. This is an amazing, awesome project here to protect our young people. And it'll be important to get community support and let the community know what Rotary is doing, taking on our district, taking on this right in our own backyard. It'll be very powerful. We'll have more information coming to you on that as this moves along. And as Dan says, make sure you have a lot of fun out there. We're going to get back in person here. We're going to have some fun this year, and that's going to be good. Let's see. We already went through the evaluation here of the clubs, and this is the form that goes out there. So you're going to have your name on it, the date you visited the club, whether it was in person or Zoom, club name, how many were there, how many attended the meeting, those kind of things. Do they have their youth protection affidavit in? When was the last time they updated their bylaws? Have they selected their president nominee here in December? They should be in December before January. How many of their, what percentage of their clubs are actually like you on My Rotary, set their My Rotary club account up? When they meet back in person, what's that venue like? And a lot of people are going to be going into new venues because some of these restaurants they met in have permanently closed because of COVID-19. So see where those goes. Was there a program there? Were you able to make announcements? So when you're at a club meeting, make sure that if there's announcements coming out of the district or events happening, information that needs to be shared with the club, let them know what that is, and comment on there. How were you received in there? Is the club have an inviting feel? Does everybody talk to each other? Little clicks going on, or who talks to who when new members come in? Do you have any concerns about it? Put them on there. You know, what are some of the weaknesses? What are some of the strengths that we can learn from, and how do they help them? Do they have a club assembly once a quarter? You might ask them and that. And do they announce district events, club events coming up, and any service projects there? And go ahead and check to make sure. I know as a PR team, we've gone out and looked at the clubs with their websites. Many have websites. Many of them are 2 or 3 years behind on the international theme. Make sure it switches over July 1 to Serve to Change Lives. And that they have the new District Governor's mugshot up there with his bio and things new up there. Do they have a newsletter? What's it look like? Is it electronic? Is it printed? Do they have a brochure? Do they have some fellowship before or after a meeting? And are there people out there in the club that Dan, Don, and Jamie should be looking for district positions in the future that are being developed? So you're the eyes and ears for them out there. They can't visit all the clubs at any one time, but you are the eyes and ears and help us develop. As Dan mentioned, each of you are being developed. You took on these roles. It's important for you to develop as AGs and grow your leadership skills. Use this opportunity for that and your networking skills, and look out there in our clubs as to who are the next leaders, who could be a next membership chair, who can be a next youth chair, who could be next to somebody else that works in a foundation or some of these other avenues of service. Okay, and make sure you get those reports back September, December, March, May, turn back in to Dan and to Nyron. And I'm going to stop sharing here in a minute. I'm going to switch over out of this PowerPoint. Any questions on that so far? I'm going to go back to a screen share, but I'm going to get us to, if I don't mess this up too badly this time, over to, where's my screen here?
Thoughts while Rudy's switching over?
I have a question. On our incoming presidents that we are supposed to be contacting and communicating with, is the list of president-elects that is on either DAC-DB or Rotary International totally up to date? Do we know? Or does anybody at district have a list?
I would have to go with they are, because when I'm sending it, well, let's put it to you this way. I'm going to hope they are, because when we send out emails, it's hit or miss on whether they respond, but I'm not getting any messages from people telling me that they are no longer the PE, except for Rancho Mirage.
Okay. So I guess we just call somebody and find out, right?
Yeah, just touch base with your clubs and introduce yourself and tell them who you are, that kind of thing. And then, when you go asking for them, you'll find out right quick if they're still the PE or not. I need to add though that we are relying on DACDB, Jennifer. That's where my information is coming from. So,
Okay, well, I was in there looking to start identifying, and I was just curious. It's probably only as good as what the clubs are putting in, though, right?
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, junk in, junk out.
Yeah, and one of those things are to encourage them to make sure they have those in there, because and make sure they also from DACDB link that with Rotary.org, so those they have their new club president and their foundation chair and membership chair. Each of those get certain emails from Rotary International based on their categories they are, which includes even the pins that get mailed out from the foundation in these areas. It depends on who that person is. So here it comes up on your screen. So each of you should have your My Rotary account. This is the home page when this comes up. Underneath here, a couple things. Under learning and reference for each of you, if you go down to learn by role, you go to district roles. Guess what's in there? When it comes up here, the site is a little slow. Governor, assistant governor, and committee. So there's an online training for assistant governors. I would think you ought to go in there and take a look and see what that is, and take that training. They're also under here for your clubs, our club roles, as well as the district roles and committees. And so there's plenty of training on there to send people to that your clubs can do online learning from. Under the Manage tab, which is an important one, you'll see club administration, district contributions, and report. Under club administration, that gets you to your own club. District has some other ones. Under reports, if you click reports, one of the things I would like each of you to do is to take a look as to what reports you have access to. Each of you, based on your role, will have access to different reports. And I know this sometimes this thing takes a little while loading up the page, but it'll eventually get here. Come on, baby. There we come. So it'll show you each of you has access to your own donor history report. That's your personal giving for yourself. Club reports, status of your members, and you can see in there on your own personal club how many have My Rotary accounts. You can also, you should have access down here to look at My Rotary accounts for everybody in the district. Now, that is a little challenging to go through. It lists them club by club. And so you'd have to click through the clubs to see those reports. Membership, you can see how many active members and terminating your own club data, sponsor data, membership leads, giving, district giving. So, and Rotary citation in here. And then there's district reports. And so this is one way to go. So looking under here, the question was asked if the clubs have their people listed. That's one of the ways to look here. Go in under district reports. If you have access to it, which you should be able to see current and incoming officers for the clubs in your district. That's another place to see those and see if they have those entered. Okay, any questions on this report one? So again, that's manage. You're going to click over here under club and district administration. That would go to reports. So each of you should go to reports sooner than later here, and see what you have access to. And then there's Rotary Club Central.
Rudy?
Yes.
Well, I'll wait till this is, go ahead.
Okay. So you have your dashboard will come in here. This happens to be like for our club. One of the things that's a bit confusing, and I've actually asked John Huco to figure out his guys to check this out, because the numbers over on the bars here every year don't necessarily match the other side over here. If you look at the gender trends, you'll see we have about, in our club this year, I think we're up to about 82 members, and this still shows 55 over here on this side, but it does show that we're more women than men in our club, and that gender continues to grow. But if you go, you're able to go in here on this dashboard. You can go to all club groups. So let's say Carol's on here. She can go to area 1 and see some of the reports in area 1 in annual fund giving and some of these things in projects. You'll see project funding. Back in 17-18, those numbers got put in, but not really entered since then. And so if you go over to Goal Center, club groups, area 1.
While this is changing over, do you want to talk about utilizing, analyzing the data in this for checking to see if goals are appropriate, et cetera, and somebody's not either lowballing or shooting for unrealistic goal?
Well, I can also go back on your, if you look in here, you can also see current years, for instance, in our club here. We set an annual fund goal of 3,500, and you can see if you click on goal history under the annual fund, you can see what our club giving has been in our goal, and every year we've met the goal for the last few years. And so you can take a look in here to make sure that somebody's not putting in too high a goal or not putting in goals at all. I think one of the challenges, probably an opportunity for you right now, is to go in and look at, with all your clubs, the goals that they've selected for annual fund giving and what their actual is this year. And there's an opportunity for growth there. Giving to the annual fund in our district this year is down significantly from prior years. And so for this incoming year here, 21-22, we need to help get that annual fund giving back up in more reasonable areas. So take a look at those as your clubs. Under the service level, you have to enter goals. If you don't have any goals in there, they're not there. And so, you know, part of this entering goals is, again, not only details in history, but when you get over into the service areas, you should be able to, can add a new service project or repeat a service project. You can put in there when you completed those, the number of projects, number of volunteer hours. You actually put in any cash contributions they should be putting in there for how much they cost to do a project. If they're collecting food or something, spending money on something, or whatever it happens to be, what that cost is. But then over on the value of donated services, put in there a value of the time. Again, you all here are professionals, and you charge probably pretty good sized money for your time. Your time is of value, and when you're donating that, it has value. It's not, you might be giving away your time for free, but in your time has value, has a dollar value to it. If you're working, it would be value something if you're charging somebody for it, if you were a consultant charging for it. So put that in there. It's important to know the value of the time we've given, not just the hours that we've given. And I see Carol's got her hand up, and Jackie, any questions?
Yeah, I've got several now. These are things that the PEs are the presidents are supposed to do. We don't assign value to our projects. And
that's correct. That's correct. That's correct. The clubs are doing this.
All right. So what kind of access do we have? I'm a new AG, but I'm also a PE. Our access to a lot of these reports won't even start until July 1st, correct?
You need to go in there and take a look. If you're brand new AG, that could be possible. If some of you are already AGs now, that could be. I'm not an AG, but somehow I have access in here.
Oh,
I can see.
That's under Rudy.
Yeah,
but
they didn't tell me I couldn't, so I have access, I guess. So if you look in here, you can search the clubs in our district. You can look at your club group and those kind of things.
so we would have access to these reports to what of the clubs in our groups?
Yes.
That's what you're saying.
Yes.
But we don't know if we have access.
You are, as long as you've been put in as an assistant governor with your area, because you see what the areas are groups here. If you've been tagged with that group, like your area 1, if you're associated with that area 1 group, at least starting July 1, for sure, by July 1, you'll have access if you don't right now. And so it's worthwhile right now. I'm asking you to go in between now and July 1, go in and take a look at what you have access to. And if on July 1 you still don't, then get a hold of one of us, or we'll get a hold of district and club support at RI to make sure that that happens for you, right?
I do have one other question, and this kind of goes to Dan. I have Indio on my club list, and I sent out an email a while back. They meet on Tuesdays at noon. I need to turn that club over to someone else, because we meet Tuesday at noon.
I'm trying to learn how to use Zoom and unmute. We can, we'll have to work on that. I don't have the AG list up in front of me, but certainly being club president, you're not going to miss Tuesday. So we'll have to. I know that Jennifer doesn't maybe not know this, or maybe she does, but she's losing a club, Palms to Pines. But Jennifer also meets on Tuesday, so we'll have to figure that out.
Okay, thank you.
Jackie, you got a question? You have your hand up.
That was earlier. Matt already asked it.
Okay.
I'm good.
Hey, so Rudy, I don't want to jump in and take over this part, but could you go to the reports section of that for me? And scroll down to district reports. And there's one down there that says, keep going. It says, wait a minute, okay, wait. Goals and achievement by district. And change it to the 21-22 year for me.
It's thinking.
I just want to reiterate, this report tells a very good tale about goals. this report is a summary report of everything that everybody enters in. You can see that there's, under membership, there are 62 clubs, and there are, out of those 62, for example, 17 of them have entered in a goal, giving us 27% of the district with a goal. That's a little more than a quarter of the district. So that tells me that there aren't a whole lot of goals entered in yet. So as assistant governors, when Rudy was asking you to look through that, you're going to notice that some of your clubs don't have goals. And I'm sure you all have had the experience of entering in goals, being that you're an assistant governor, which means you've been a president at some point. So I would ask you to kindly help them get their goals in. They must have goals. They got to have some kind of idea what they want to do in their year, right? With this number